The Christmas Pig, Chapter 41. The Performers. They hurried on toward the place where the carols were being sung, and after a few minutes they found themselves standing in an archway that looked out onto a large and beautiful square, strung with gleaming silver Christmas lights, just like the canals. A choir of instruments were singing in one corner of the square. One of them, from the French horns and the violins to the flutes and the tubas, had human voices now, and Jack had never heard carols sung so beautifully. For just a few seconds, he forgot how good he was in his sodden pajamas and simply marveled at the wonderful sights and sounds. The square lay in front of a huge white palace, which had a golden roof and arched windows. On either side of the palace doors stood two loss adjusters, a pencil sharpener and a mallet, who, like the loss adjusters guarding the city gates, wore black hats with long black plumes. A balcony stretched the length of the palace, and Jack could see people-shaped things standing there, listening to the choir of instruments. Like happiness, each of these things was giving off light. One was scarlet, another green, and several were bright blue. Jack was too far away to be able to see what the figures in the middle of the colored lights looked like, but he knew they must be extremely important to live in the golden-roofed palace. Meanwhile, right ahead of where Jack and the Christmas Pig stood was a crowd of other things packed together in the falling snow, their shadows long in the light of the dying day. They seemed to be watching some kind of performance that was taking place in their middle. "Let's hide in that crowd," whispered the Christmas Pig, glancing over his shoulder again. "Keep your eyes peeled for DP." So they set off into the square, Jack's bare, frozen feet leaving footprints, and the Christmas Pig's trotters leaving round, damp spot in the snow, and neither of them noticed the figure cloaked in black that slid out from behind the marble column to follow them. None of the things in the crowd took much notice of Jack and the Christmas Pig as they sidled in among them. When, at last, they were able to see what the crowd was watching, Jack and the Christmas Pig also stopped and stared. All the performers were transparent and human-shaped, just like pretense. A jester was juggling and doing backflips, while a little man with a long mustache was spinning plates on long poles. A chef was flipping pancakes, catching them every time, while a ballerina twirled in endless pirouettes. One old man was tying a long length of rope into complicated knots, and another was performing card tricks. What are they? Jack wondered aloud to a brand new smartphone standing beside them. "Lost snacks," said the phone. "Clever little tricks that humans can do, but which, through age or injury, poor memory or lack of practice, they lose." "Can't they get them back?" asked Jack. "Sometimes," said the phone. "Yesterday, a very clever magic trick was whooshed back up to the land of the living while we were watching. Very disappointing, because he hadn't finished. We're always sorry to lose snacks, because they put on a show for us this time every evening. But the snacks are just the warm-up act. Wait until you see today's talent." Sure enough, the lost snacks finally bowed to much cheering, and they ran, tumbled, bounced, and pirouetted out of the square and out of sight. Now a very large transparent lady who was wearing a jeweled dress strode into the middle of the square. Some of the onlookers cheered, but the phone groaned. "You're out of luck. I was hoping for one of our stories. They're always very entertaining. But it's a voice. Voice took a deep breath and began to sing in a language Jack didn't understand. Her song echoed off the stone-arched and palace wall, making Jack's ears ring. His supposed voice must be very talented, judging by the way all the jewelry and fine box were sighing in an admiration. But the phone leaned over to Jack and said, she was lost by an opera singer up there. I'm not much of a one for opera. Think I'll be getting home. Phone hopped away. Jack would have liked to follow because Voice's song was making his ears ring, but at that moment a thing whispered in his ear.